Macky and I are back to do another joint video. In fact, just so you know, there are going to be a couple of changes coming to the channel. Instead of doing 2 or 3 videos a week, well, I'll only be doing 1. And for the most part, we're going to be doing them together just because we can.
For now.
A little less work, and mostly because we both have to concentrate on our writing a little bit. Aside from our own individual projects, his is an actual story and mine is fan fiction, which I'm not sorry about. We also have a joint project that we are trying to work on before NaNoWriMo starts. That'll be fun. We'll probably talk about that closer to Nano date. Anyway, today we are going to be sharing the rest of the books that we read during the month of June. So mostly the books I read from like June 15 onwards.
Pretty much half the month.
We actually managed to read the exact same amount of books, which is unexpected, but awesome.
That means more for me and less for her, so.
Yeah, so we will just take turns talking about them.
Finally finished Frog Kisser by Garth Nix. Boy, oh boy, what a fun book. Definitely middle grade, 800%, right? But it's the smart kind, the kind that you're gonna want your kids to grow up on, and it's so well written. The tropes are all bent out of shape, which is great because why not breathe new life into this stuff? And I definitely recommend the story of the Frog Kisser, a legendary tale about the girl who, well, kisses frogs. You'll see.
I am going to be talking about The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This is the first in a series. I'm not sure how many books there are in it, so I can't say that yet. And it actually comes out in January 2018. The only reason I read this one early was because Kristen from Super Space Chick told me I had
Kristen.
to.
Hello, Kristen.
This is the story of a girl named Jude who has been living in the world of the Fae since she was 8, 9, 7? I don't even remember how old she was. And as she gets older, she wants to prove that she has a place in this world. And so it's a story of deception and secrets and a little bit of Game of Thrones type situations in there. It's really, really good. I actually just spent an entire day reading it and it was amazing. Like, I don't normally like fairy books, but I will make an exception for books where the fairies are actually cruel and manipulative and sort of tricksters, which I love, but also capable of very, very pretty magic. It's really, really atmospheric. That's the other thing I'd like to say. She's done a great job with the setting and the characters, and I absolutely adored this one. Cannot wait for it to come out so more people can read it. So yeah, highly recommend adding this to your TBR.
So this next book is called Birthrights. I was able to connect with Smith Publicity at BEA 2017 and was able to get a copy of this book. Now this book is already out. It was out last June, so it should be available everywhere else. My review for it is going to be coming up on the blog very soon. Probably has already.
You point at me like I am like the
She is the blog.
personification of the blog.
Yes. Because Alexa does love books, and so do I apparently. Mostly her, but also books. Also fairies, oddly enough, but not like the main thing, right? So this is my foray into adult fiction, and boy, is it a really like a crazy experience. It's not a feel-good book because it's adult stuff, you know what I mean? In the same way you don't expect to feel good when you do something like The Magicians or even the Kushiel series. There's not a lot of feeling good there in the terms of the whole, oh my gosh, everything's gonna be okay. Kind of not, because real life. And good lore, really, really good lore. It's so well crafted, very Game of Thronesy in that several point of view characters coming together.
What's it about? Did you tell them what it's about?
Right, it is about a...
Sorry, I was just wondering.
No, that's fine. It's several points of view, but it centers on just one particular person named Wim, and he had a really, really crappy fate destined for him until suddenly out of nowhere he gets picked for an apprenticeship with somebody that he really, really hates, terrible family enemy.
I don't know if that's any better than having a bad fate.
That's true, but that's what actually sets things off. And then it's a slow burn, a really slow burn, because there are a lot of pieces to come together. But when the final piece, when the final reveal at the end comes up, and no spoilers, it's like those artist drawings where they're like, it's just like gibberish or whatever it is, and then suddenly they like tap it off, and then suddenly boom, this picture appears, and you're like, and it's the cliffhanger, and we're like, that's where it ends. So I really need book 2 now because this is really awesome. So adult fiction, I'm getting a taste for it, and I don't know what that means, but I like this book.
My next book is actually one that I borrowed from the library and had to return. It's called The War That Saved My Life by Kimberly I really cannot say that name. Kimberly Brubaker Bradley. There you go, tongue twister. It is about a girl named Ada and her little brother Jamie, and it is set in World War I, I want to say. And the two of them are sent out from London to the countryside where they are subsequently adopted by a woman who doesn't necessarily want to be adopting any children. And they sort of thrive under her care because their situation in London was not that great. And I actually really enjoyed this book. It was a bit clunky in terms of pacing, but other than that, it was really great. It kind of gave me a combination of like Secret Garden vibes meets like All the Light We Cannot See. So that was really fun. It was actually a recommendation from my friend Lindsay over at Bring My Books, and we both read it for our project, The Year of Recommended Reads. I am happy to report I enjoyed it, and there's actually a sequel to it, which I did not know until I looked it up on Goodreads, but apparently I will be reading that now as well.
Dialing it back down to Zero Repeat Forever, another book that I got at BEA. This is 100% in YA, definitely YA. There's no escaping the YA-ness of it, even if the theme is pretty dark and extreme. So post-alien invasion is our setting, and it is between somebody on the alien side and somebody on the human side. And so it's a race between figuring out what the big reveal in the end, the big mystery, who are these aliens, and how do our main characters, our survivors, actually, you know, survive the whole thing. It reads like a giant art piece. Like I was imagining like a French film with terrible, you know, no, with terrible issues that they need to figure out, and they actually do. And it's dramatic, and it's terrible, and it's sad, and it's heartbreaking. And I wouldn't have watched this if it were a movie, but it's actually really good as a book. So I suggest if you like the kind of post-alien invasion sci-fi darkness, this is definitely yours.
And now for a complete change of pace, the next book I'm showing you is a romance novel. It's called The Map That Leads to You by J.P. Moninger, and it's about a girl named Heather who is traveling with her two best friends on a graduation trip to Europe. Somewhere along the way, on a train ride, she meets this guy, and things escalate from there. I enjoyed the travel parts of this book because the author really has a knack for getting the reader to feel like they're wherever the people are in the book, like Paris, Amsterdam, all of that. It was great. Like, those descriptions were beautiful. And I also think that the writing is pretty great too. The problem is, I didn't necessarily love the main characters or the main couple, which, since this is a romance, a little bit of a problem, as you can tell. Would I recommend this book? Possibly. If you are a romance fan, you are probably going to see a lot of tropes that you recognize, and you're probably also going to feel like you can guess the ending, which I totally did. But I mean, like, if you're looking for a romance read that has a little bit of travel in it, then yeah, I would say check this one out, or maybe borrow it from the library.
Next up, Fablehaven was able to get a signed copy by Brandon Mull at BEA 2017. So it's about two kids who visit their paternal grandparents' place. They're dropped off there because their maternal grandparent had passed, and the last will and testament said all the parents should just, you know, get on a boat and on a cruise, and so they needed a place to stay. Out of nowhere, just fairies and other mythical creatures just start popping up in the periphery, and they're wondering what the heck's going on here. And so this whole thing unravels, and they understand what Fablehaven actually really is. And so, first in a series, great story, great lore. Can't say I'm crazy about the characters because half the time I wanted to punch everybody, literally just punch them in the face.
Maybe that's your age talking.
No, I did. Well, okay, fine. I'm also old and cranky, but at the same time, it's not because they're bad characters. It's because they make terrible life decisions and are perhaps also terrible people. But at the same time, that works because in the essence of fables, they're all cautionary tales. I mean, really, at the end of the day, we just want to learn that please do not be like this, and this is an exact example of please do not be like this. So it's very well written. I love the resolution of it. There is so much redeeming stuff here at the end, and it's really a great finale, actually, and a great setup for the next few books. So I have to know what happens next.
I'm also going to be talking about a middle grade, and this is The Someday Suitcase by Corey Ann Haydu. In case you guys have not heard it from me enough, I absolutely love this author. I have read all of her YA and both of her middle grade novels, and I still think she's one of the best writers that I've ever read in general. Anyway, The Someday Suitcase is about two best friends, Danny and Clover, and at the very beginning of the book, Danny is sick, and it's impossible almost for doctors to diagnose exactly what's wrong with him. But it appears to him and to Clover that Clover's presence actually helps him feel better. And so this entire novel is just them trying to figure out a solution, how to make Danny better, how to make things better, and it's just so good. Like, it was so unexpectedly emotional for me, and I just love that. Like, it was so light at first, and then all of a sudden I was like, where is my, what? You are taking the shattered remains of my heart. So yeah, I really like this one, would highly recommend checking it out, and of course he's gonna try and steal it now, because be careful with it.
Going on my TBR. Pivot from that book theft into this book. The Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo. This book was a fun surprise. I can spend literally the next 45 minutes talking just about this thing, but we don't have that kind of time. So in a nutshell, it is about a girl, Jeannie Lo. She's a sophomore in high school, I like to think. She discovers something very, very, very unique about her when a stranger comes to town who happens to be, and if you look at it in the back, well, the Monkey King incarnate. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, the Monkey King is a huge figure in Chinese literature, right? All the lore, all of the legends have the Monkey King doing 20 billion other things, right? And it's inspired absolutely anything from the Dragon Ball series, where you've got Goku with like the tail and then the stick, and you know, you've got the Naruto series where you've got the Sarutobi clan and he summons like the giant monkey. For those of you who know, I know she totally goes into that thing. And then when he comes into town, and we're not just talking about like his descendant, no, where the actual dude comes to town and says, yo, I'm the Monkey King. Doesn't say it that way, but he might as well, because it's California. And Jeannie was like, what? And then crazy hijinks happen, and threaded through all of this is Chinese culture. I'm not Chinese. I don't have that many enough Chinese friends who live here to understand what it's like to see if this is really a nod to Chinese American a culture. But there's a lot of stuff in there, and it's funny, and you don't have to be Chinese to love it, but I think if you are, there's a huge chance that you're gonna appreciate this, and lots of good reviews everywhere, and I understand why. So highly recommend it. It's a great gateway into other cultures' lore, I suppose, through the Monkey King. Very popular, and to be able to refresh it and make it new without feeling like you took away from the culture, but you actually added to it in an American setting, it's fun. And seriously, a demon invasion is no excuse for bad grades. You bet your burn that Jeannie Lo is not gonna like make her finals, you know, go away while she's saving the world. So highly recommend. Epic Crush of Jeannie Lo comes out in August 2017. Please pre-order it if you want a really, really great time. This is a fun book, and you gotta get it.
I miscalculated. I actually have 2 more books. Whoops! That's what happens when you read things electronically. The next book is another one I read as an ebook, and it is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. It's the first in a duology. I think it's a duology. They're just companion novels though. Anyway, it's about a guy named Monty. And that's not his actual name, that's his last name, but you know the British, they like to come up with nicknames with their last names. It's about a guy named Monty, his best friend Percy, and his sister Felicity. They somehow end up in possession of a stolen item that is actually stolen from someone else. So they stole it from the person who stole it from someone else, and now they're on this mission to give it back. It's more complicated than that because there's a lot of other things going on, but that's the basic essence of it. So it's your basic historical hijinks slash romance, but in the YA side of things. It's really fun. Like, I wasn't expecting how fun it would be. I especially liked the sister, Felicity. One important thing you should know about this book is that the romance is MM. So it's between Monty and Percy, who are best friends. It's fun. It's actually quite long. Weirdly long, which I think is where it suffered a little bit because the pacing was a little bit like odd at times, but all in all it was a fun romp. That's what I will say it is. It was a fun romp. I enjoyed my time reading it. I think you should check it out if it sounds at all interesting to you. And the last book that I need to talk about is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is a non-fiction book that is all about creative living beyond fear, and she basically tackles the 5 things she feels are important when it comes to living a creative life. And this is not just in the sense of writing, it's in the sense of being creative in any way that you want to be creative, whether it's dancing or singing or planting a garden or anything like that. And I really surprisingly enjoyed it. I thought that in spite of the fact that it's not really like an advice book, it's more like an inspiration type thing where you can draw inspiration from it. I liked what she had to say because a lot of it reflected things that I had thought of but couldn't put into words. That's one. And I just had a lot of quotable quotes. I have a lot of stickies in there in case you didn't notice. Yeah,
she actually mentioned some of these quotes.
Yeah, and I was reading them out loud to him, and he also enjoyed
it's
them.
Really, I kind of
so yeah, it's actually a pretty decent like read if you're looking for a way to voice your feelings about creativity, a way to feel challenged and inspired, which is what happened after reading this, because right after reading this I started writing again. I hadn't been writing for like a month. I would highly recommend checking it out if you're interested in something that's not so much like line by line advice as opposed to like just voicing these things and maybe encouraging you to take a step out of your own shell and try living the creative life without being afraid of it. Those were all the books that both Macky and I read in the latter half of June. If you've read any of these and loved them or didn't like them, we would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you are interested in more information about any of these and we didn't answer that in the video or mention anything about it, you can also ask us in the comments. And yeah, you'll be seeing us for another video next week. It's gonna be our June book haul, which is massive. Let me tell you, it's massive. Anyway, have anything else to say?
That's it. So I hope you guys have fun.